The cold is a constant companion. It seeps through the packed earth floor of the hut, a damp, persistent chill that clings to her ankles and works its way into her bones. Alara pulls the threadbare blanket tighter around her shoulders. A futile gesture. The wool is thin, worn smooth by years of worry and restless nights. It offers no real warmth, only the memory of it. Outside, the wind howls a mournful song through the pines of the Blackwood territory. It is a sound she knows better than any other. The whisper of needles, the groan of ancient trunks, the lonely cry of a world that has cast her out. She is an Omega, the lowest of the low, a wolf born to soothe, to nurture, to be the soft heart of the pack. But she is a broken one. A phantom ache pulses over her heart, a dull, throbbing reminder of the bond that was severed. Ronan. His name is a bitter taste in her mouth, like ash and regret. He had been her everything, the alpha she was promised to, the future she had foolishly allowed herself to dream of. He had been handsome, strong, celebrated, and he had chosen her for a time. Then came the fever, a wasting sickness that had swept through the village when she was just a pup, stealing her breath and leaving her with a rasp in her throat. It had scarred her vocal cords, they said. It had ruined her gift. An Omega's power was in her song, the soothing hum that could calm a raging alpha, the lullaby that could ease a pup into sleep, the chorus of pack harmony that bound them all together. Her song was gone. What was left was a whisper, a fragile, reedy sound that cracked and broke under pressures. Ronan had held on for a year after that, his patience wearing thinner with each failed attempt she made to join the pack songs. His embarrassment grew, curdling into resentment. Then, on the night of the Blood Moon Festival, in front of the entire pack, he had performed the rite of severing. He had pressed his palm to her heart, declared her unfit, a broken instrument, and shattered the bond between them. The pain had nearly killed her, but the shame was worse. The shame was a living thing, a shadow that followed her from her cot to the stream where she washed her clothes, to the edge of the village where she was allowed to collect scraps left for the forgotten. Now she lives here in this hut on the fringe of the territory, just far enough away that her failure is not a constant visible blight on the pack's pride. A sharp rap on the flimsy wooden door makes her jump. It is a sound she rarely hears. No one comes this far out unless they have to. She does not answer. Her heart hammers against her ribs, a frantic, trapped bird. Maybe they will go away. Alara, a gruff voice calls. It is Yorick, one of the pack enforcers. His tone is impatient, devoid of warmth. The Alpha summons you. All are required at the Great Hall tonight. No exceptions. The Alpha King is visiting. The news had trickled down even to her. Whispers of a legendary, almost mythical figure arriving from the northern mountains. Kalen, the Alpha of Alphas. They said he commanded 1,000 packs, that his wolf was the size of a pony, that his eyes could freeze a man's blood. They said he was here to assess the strength and loyalty of the Blackwood pack. Fear, cold and sharp, lances through her. The Great Hall, a place of warmth, light, and community she has not been welcome in for 5 years. A place filled with faces that look at her with pity, with contempt, or worst of all, with nothing at all. I hear you breathing in there. Yorick growls. The king has commanded it. Every member of the pack, that still includes you. Be there by moonrise. His heavy footsteps retreat, leaving her in the ringing silence. Every member. The words are a sentence. She is being dragged back into the world that spit her out, forced to stand in the light where everyone can see her scars. There is no refusing. Defying a pack alpha's summons was a crime. Defying the Alpha King was suicide. She rises slowly, her joints protesting the cold. In the corner of the single room, a small, cracked piece of a mirror leans against the wall. She avoids looking at her reflection most days. Today she forces herself. The woman who stares back is a wraith, pale skin stretched tight over sharp cheekbones, wide eyes that hold too much sorrow, and hair the color of faded straw. She sees the ghost of the girl she was, but mostly she sees the labels they have given her. Rejected, broken, Omega. She has one dress that is not patched or stained. A simple gray wool thing she made herself years ago. It is thin, but it is clean. She pulls it over her head, the rough fabric scratching her skin. She smooths it down with trembling hands, a useless effort to appear less pathetic, less of a target. The walk to the village is long. The air grows colder as the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in bruises of purple and orange. She keeps to the shadows of the trees, her head down, her arms wrapped around herself. She can hear the great hall before she sees it, a deep, rumbling wave of noise, laughter, shouting, the clatter of plates and mugs, a symphony of belonging. It washes over her, making her feel smaller, colder, more alone than ever. The smell hits her next: roasted boar, spiced ale, baking bread, and the warm, musky scent of hundreds of wolves packed together. It is overwhelming, a sensory assault that makes her stomach clench with a hunger that is only partly for food. It is a hunger for warmth, for acceptance, for a single kind glance. Taking a deep, shaky breath, she slips through the massive doors. The heat is a physical blow. Torches spit and crackle in iron sconces along the stone walls, casting a flickering golden light over the chaos. Long tables are packed with wolves, their faces flushed with ale and excitement. They are celebrating, showing off their pack's strength and vitality for the visiting king. Alara's presence is the discordant note in their song. A few heads turn. A whisper snakes through the nearest table. A pointed finger. She feels the familiar heat of shame crawl up her neck. She finds an empty spot in the darkest, coldest corner behind a massive stone pillar and sinks onto the edge of a bench. She hopes she can become invisible. She prays they will forget she is here. From her hiding place, she can see the high table. And she sees him, the Alpha King, Colin. He is nothing like the boisterous, backslapping alphas of her pack. Where they are a roaring fire, he is the dead of winter. He sits in a carved high-back chair, a space of silence around him that no one dares to breach. He is larger than the other men, his shoulders broad enough to block out the firelight behind him. His hair is black as a raven's wing, pulled back from a face carved from stone. He is utterly still amidst the swirling chaos of the feast, an island of absolute predatory calm. His eyes, even from this distance, seem to absorb the light. He lifts a silver goblet to his lips in a slow, deliberate movement, his gaze sweeping over the hall with a detached, chilling intensity. He is not celebrating with them. He is weighing them, measuring them, and finding them wanting. Alara shivers, and it has nothing to do with the cold. There is a power rolling off him in palpable waves, an ancient authority that makes the air around him feel thin and sharp. He is terrifying, and he is the loneliest person she has ever seen. She recognizes the look in his eyes. It is a version of the same emptiness she sees in her own reflection. A profound, soul-deep isolation. A sharp laugh cuts through the din, dragging her attention away from the king. Ronan. He stands near the central hearth, surrounded by his cronies. He is holding court, his chest puffed out, basking in their sycophantic laughter. He has aged well. Prosperity suits him. He is mated now to a pretty, vibrant beta named Lyra, who hangs on his arm, her bright, clear voice a constant testament to everything Alara is not. Ronan's eyes scan the hall, a smirk playing on his lips, and then they find her. His smirk widens into a cruel grin. Recognition dawns, followed by a flash of calculated malice. He leans in and whispers something to his friends. They turn, their gazes following his. The laughter that follows is different. It is not joyous. It is sharp and pointed. It is aimed at her. Alara's blood runs cold. She tries to shrink further into the shadow of the pillar, but it is too late. He has seen her, and Ronan has never been one to let an opportunity for cruelty pass. He raises his voice, pitching it to carry over the noise. Alpha Marcus. He calls to their pack leader at the high table. We have been regaling our esteemed guest with tales of our pack's strength, our hunter's skill, our warrior's valor. Alpha Marcus, a bluff aging wolf whose primary concern is keeping the peace, nods enthusiastically. As we should. Only the best for the Alpha King. But, Ronan continues, his voice dripping with false sincerity, We have neglected to share our pack's more unique gifts. We have music, a songbird of our very own, hidden away in the rafters. A ripple of understanding, of dawning. Vicious amusement flows through the crowd. They all know who he means. They all know what he is doing. Alara's breath catches in her throat. No, please, no. An excellent idea, Alpha Marcus booms, oblivious or simply uncaring of the cruelty. He is desperate to please the king. A song to honor our guest. Alara, come forward. Her name hangs in the air. The hall falls into a hush. Hundreds of pairs of eyes turn, searching the shadows. They find her, a cornered animal caught in the hunter's snare. The silence is worse than the noise. It is a heavy, suffocating blanket of anticipation. They are waiting for the punchline. Waiting to see the broken Omega humiliate herself. Ronan's grin is triumphant. He has trapped her. Every instinct screams at her to run, to flee the hall, the village, to disappear into the woods and never come back. To be a coward, it would be so easy. But then she remembers the years of scorn, the whispers, the pity, the utter crushing indifference. If she runs now, this is all she will ever be. The broken thing that shattered completely. Something inside her, a tiny, resilient ember that has refused to be extinguished, glows with a defiant heat. She thinks of her grandfather. He was old, his wolf faded, but his eyes were kind. He had been the one to teach her the old songs, the ones no one sang anymore. Songs not of battle and glory, but of the earth, of the moon, of the secret heart of the world. Your voice isn't for shouting, little bird, he used to say, his voice a low rumble. It's for listening. Some songs aren't meant for the ears, they're meant for the soul. He had died a year after her fever. She had not sung a note since. She looks past the mocking faces, past Ronan's sneer, to the high table, to the king. His expression has not changed. His gaze is still distant, bored, unimpressed. He is a man made of ice and shadow. He expects nothing from her. They all expect nothing but a pathetic failure. And in that moment, the fear is eclipsed by a sudden, sharp surge of anger. An anger at Ronan, at the pack, at a world that judges a thing by its volume and not its worth. She will not give them the performance they want. She will not try to sing their songs of strength and stumble over the notes. She will not humiliate herself for their entertainment. Fine, they want a song. She will give them one, but it will not be for them. Slowly, unsteadily. She gets to her feet. The movement feels monumental, as if she is pushing against the weight of the entire world. She keeps her eyes down, fixed on the stone floor as she walks from the safety of her shadow into the center of the hall. Each step is an agony. The silence is a physical thing pressing in on her, punctuated by a few muffled snickers. She feels naked, flayed open, every flaw and failure on display. She can feel Ronan's smug satisfaction like a heat on her skin. There is a small raised platform near the hearth where musicians sometimes play. It is empty now, a stage for her sacrifice. She steps onto it, the wood creaking under her slight weight. She forces herself to lift her head. She sees them all, a sea of faces, some curious, some contemptuous, some openly laughing. Lyra, Ronan's mate, is whispering behind her hand to a friend, her eyes sparkling with malice. Alara's gaze travels over them, over the pack that broke her, and finally lands again on the king. He is watching her now. There is no boredom in his eyes anymore, only a flat, cold assessment. It is the same indifference that has haunted her for years, the casual dismissal of a world that does not see her, does not care to see her. He is the embodiment of every man, every alpha who has ever deemed her worthless. That look solidifies her resolve. She will not sing for them. She will not sing for Ronan's cruel satisfaction or Alpha Marcus's political gain. She will sing for the lonely, broken part of herself that has huddled in the cold for 5 years. She will sing for the memory of her grandfather, and she will sing for the vast, chilling emptiness she sees in the eyes of the king. She closes her own eyes, shutting out the sea of hostile faces. She draws a breath. It is shaky, thin. A few people snicker, anticipating the pathetic squeak they are sure is coming. She does not try to project. She does not try to be loud. She just begins. The first note is not a sound. It is a feeling, a thread of silver spun in the silent hall. It is so quiet, so fragile that the people nearest the platform lean in, straining to hear. It is not one of the pack's boisterous anthems. It is something else entirely, something ancient. It is the song her grandfather called the anima cantes, the soul song. He told her it was a dangerous, forgotten magic, a song that did not just tell a story, but called to the very essence of the wolf it was meant for. Her voice, the voice she has kept hidden for years, finds its true nature. It is not the powerful, booming instrument of a warrior beta. It is not the bright, clear harmony of a perfect omega. It is something deeper, richer, a voice that tastes of old earth and starlight, of moss on forgotten stones and the deep, cold water of a mountain spring. It is a voice meant for secrets, not for celebrations. The melody is strange, atonal, filled with minor keys and unexpected shifts. It speaks of solitude. It builds a landscape of vast empty plains under a sky of cold, distant stars. It tells of a crown made of iron and ice, of a throne that is a prison, of a power so immense it isolates the bearer completely. The snickering has stopped. The hall has gone from quiet to utterly, supernaturally still. The clatter of a dropped fork sounds like a thunderclap. No one is eating. No one is drinking. No one is even breathing. They are trapped, caught in the net of her song. They do not understand what they are hearing, but they feel its power. The air grows heavy, thick with an energy they cannot name. The flames in the torches seem to dim, to burn lower, as if paying respect. The smell of wood smoke and roasted meat is gone, replaced by the scent of ozone after a lightning strike, of wild, untamed mountains. Alara is lost in it now. Her eyes are still closed, but she sees it all. She is pouring every ounce of her own loneliness, her own rejection, her own ache for a connection she has never known into the ancient notes. She sings of being unseen, unheard, untouched. But through the sorrow, the song begins to weave a new thread, a thread of hope. It speaks of a fated bond, of a soul split in two, wandering the world, searching for its other half. It sings of a love so profound it is a destiny, a key that can unlock the frozen heart, a warmth that can thaw the endless winter. It is her story. It is his story, and she does not even know. At the high table, the silver goblet in Kalen's hand has not moved. His head, which had been tilted in cold assessment, is now lifted. His entire body is rigid, coiled like a spring. His knuckles are white where he grips the arms of his chair. And his eyes are no longer cold and empty. They are fixed on her, burning with a silver fire that is terrifying and hypnotic. His wolf, the ancient, powerful beast he keeps leashed under a will of iron, is at the surface, looking out through his eyes. And it is not looking at a broken Omega, it is looking at its salvation. Alara feels the shift, a tremor in the web of her song, a pull, a magnetic resonance she has never felt before. It is coming from him. The song which she began for herself is no longer hers alone. It has found its target. It is calling to him, and he is answering. She pours more of herself into it, driven by an instinct she does not understand. The melody climbs, soaring into a crescendo of pure, raw, magical longing. It is a note of absolute vulnerability, of bared soul need. It is a key turning in a lock that has been rusted shut for 1,000 years. The sound shatters the stillness. Kalen drops his goblet. It hits the stone floor with a deafening clang, the sound echoing in the profound silence. With a guttural snarl that is not entirely human, he shoves his massive chair back. The heavy wood scrapes against the stone with a piercing scream, and he stands. He rises to his full, intimidating height. A monolith of pure, restrained power. The entire hall holds its breath. A collective gasp is caught in 1,000 throats. Alphas and betas, warriors and hunters, all shrink in their seats, their own wolves cowering in the face of his eyes, now glowing with an impossible liquid silver light, are locked on her. He sees nothing else. No one else exists. Not the terrified pack alpha beside him. Not the sneering courtier below. Only the small, pale woman on the stage. Her song falters, the last note hanging in the air like a ghost. She opens her eyes, her body trembling with the aftermath of the magic she has unleashed. She sees him standing there, a predator that has just scented its prey, its purpose, its entire world. The silence stretches, thin and taut, ready to snap. Then he takes a step. The heavy thud of his boot on the stone floor is a proclamation. Another step. He is coming down from the high table, moving with a deliberate, inexorable grace that is more terrifying than any rush. Alpha Marcus finally finds his voice, a weak, stammering squeak. My king. Is something amiss? Kalen does not even glance at him. He dismisses the pack alpha with a subtle, contemptuous flick of his fingers, a gesture that screams his irrelevance. His focus is absolute. It is entirely on Alara. The crowd parts before him like the sea before a god. Wolves scramble out of his way, knocking over benches and spilling ale, their own primal instincts screaming at them to submit, to get out of the path of the king who has found his queen. Ronan is frozen in place, his smug grin wiped from his face, replaced by a mask of chalky, abject terror. The joke has gone horribly, apocalyptically wrong. He stares at Alara, then at the advancing king, his mind refusing to connect the two. This cannot be happening. The broken Omega, his reject. Alara is rooted to the spot, unable to move, unable to breathe. He is closer now, close enough that she can see the intricate silver threads in his black hair, the faint stubble on his jaw, close enough to feel the heat rolling off his body. He smells of pine and a coming storm, of cold stone and something else, something wild and possessive that speaks directly to a part of her she thought was dead. He stops at the foot of the small stage, looking up at her. The few feet of distance between them crackle with an impossible energy. It is a tangible force, a humming in the air that makes the hairs on her arms stand up. His voice, when he finally speaks, is a low, guttural rumble that vibrates through the wooden platform and up into the soles of her feet. It is not the voice of a man making small talk at a feast. It is the voice of a wolf claiming its territory. What? He says, the word less a question and more a demand carved from granite. Was that song? Alara opens her mouth, but no sound comes out. Her throat is tight. Her mind is a whirlwind of fear and a strange, terrifying sense of homecoming. He takes the final step, mounting the stage to stand before her. He looms over her, a mountain of a man eclipsing the light from the torches. They are in their own world now, the rest of the hall forgotten. He reaches out, not to touch her, but his fingers hover in the air just inches from her face, trembling with a restraint that seems to cost him everything. Who taught you that song? He growls, softer this time, but more intense. The silver in his eyes is swirling, a storm of emotion she cannot begin to decipher. There is rage, yes, but also disbelief, reverence, and a deep, aching pain that mirrors her own. My grandfather, she whispers, her voice a thread. A muscle feathers in his jaw. He closes his eyes for a fraction of a second, as if struck by a physical blow. When he opens them again, the storm is raging. No one has sung the Anima Cantes in 500 years. He breathes. The words are a secret shared only between them. It is not a song for just any wolf. It can only be sung by the other half of a soul. It is a call that only one can answer. His meaning hangs in the air, impossible and undeniable. The stares of the pack, Ronan's horror, the political machinations, all fade to nothing. There is only the truth, raw and terrifying and beautiful, standing inches from her face. He looks at her, truly looks at her, and she sees the loneliness she recognized earlier shatter, replaced by a fierce, possessive recognition that steals the air from her lungs. He says the word, the one word that changes everything, the word that redefines her past, her present, and her future, the word that damns Ronan to an eternity of regret and elevates her from the dirt to the sky. Mate. The word is a vow, a brand, a claim. It settles over the hall, and the last vestiges of reality crumble. The broken, rejected Omega and the Alpha King. It is a fairy tale, It is an impossibility. And it is happening. For a moment, seeing the sheer terror and awe on her face, a flicker of something else crosses his features. Guilt. He sees not just his mate, but a frightened woman who has been dragged into the center of a storm she did not ask for. His possessive primal instinct wars with a sudden, fierce need to protect her, even from himself. He takes a half step back, his expression hardening as he tries to regain control, to push her away for her own safety. "This changes nothing," he says. The words clipped, harsh, a lie. A desperate attempt to shove the world back into an order he understands. You should not have sung that song. It is a test, a retreat, an offer of an escape. He is giving her a chance to deny it, to run. The Alara from an hour ago would have taken it. She would have fled, terrified of the power, of the intensity in his eyes, of the sheer magnitude of what was happening. But the woman who sang the soul song is not the same one who entered the hall. She has touched a part of herself she thought was lost forever. She has faced down her tormentors and found a power she never knew she possessed. She looks at this terrifying, magnificent man, this king who is trying to shield her by rejecting her, and she sees not a threat, but an echo of her own soul. She lifts her chin, her gaze unwavering. "I sang it for me," she says, her voice quiet but clear, filled with a strength she did not know she had. "And I sang it for you." His control breaks. The carefully constructed walls of ice and stone crumble into dust. With a sound that is half growl, half purr, he closes the distance between them. His large, calloused hands come up to cup her face. His touch is shockingly gentle, as if he is holding the most precious, fragile thing in the universe. "Alara," he whispers. Her name is a prayer on his lips. He finally, truly sees her. Not the reject, not the Omega, but the missing piece of his own soul. The world can wait. The pack can stare. Ronan can choke on his regret. In this moment, on this small wooden stage, a king has found his reason for being, and a broken songbird has finally found her voice. The months that follow are a blur of upheaval and rediscovery. Kaelin does not stay in the Blackwood territory. He leaves the next morning, taking her with him. She leaves with nothing but the gray dress on her back and the ghost of her grandfather's smile in her heart. She does not look back. There is nothing in Blackwood to look back for. His home is not a village hall, but a fortress carved into the side of a mountain, so high that the clouds drift below the windows. It is a place of stone and sky, of echoing halls and fires that never die. It is vast and intimidating, but for the first time since she was a child, Alara does not feel cold. She no longer lives in a hut. She lives in the king's chambers, a suite of rooms filled with soft furs, rich tapestries, and a bed so large she feels lost in it. At first, she is a ghost in this new life, flinching at the sound of servants' footsteps, hesitant to touch the beautiful things that are now supposedly hers. The trauma of her past is a stubborn shadow, clinging to her even in the light. Kaelin is patient. It is a quality she would never have ascribed to the terrifying king she first saw. He is still a creature of immense power and fierce intensity, but with her there is a gentleness that is breathtaking. He never pushes, never demands. He watches her with those stormy silver eyes, learning her silences, her fears, the map of her sorrow. He brings her books from his library. He has a small, beautiful garden of hardy mountain flowers cultivated in a glass-walled atrium, and he takes her there, sitting with her for hours in comfortable silence. He learns that she loves the smell of fresh earth and the feel of sunlight on her skin. He, in turn, learns to be vulnerable. One night, as they sit before the fire in their chambers, the wind screaming its lonely song outside, he finally tells her the full story. "My line is old," he says, his voice a low rumble. "Cursed, some say. Blessed, say others. The first king made a pact with the moon spirit. For ultimate power, his soul would be split. He and his mate would be born generations apart, destined to search for each other. Without his other half, the king is only half-formed. Strong, yes, but incomplete. His power is a cold, hollow thing. He looks into the fire, his expression haunted, I have spent my life feeling it. The emptiness, the missing piece of me. I traveled from pack to pack, assessing their strength. Yes, but always listening. Searching for a song I had never heard. For a face I had never seen. I was beginning to believe I was the one who would fail. The king who would die alone and our line would end. He turns to look at her, and the raw emotion in his eyes makes her heart ache. And then you, in that hall, a place of loud boasts and empty pride, and you sang the song of my soul back to me. You, whom they called broken. They were wrong, she whispers, finding the courage to reach out and lay her hand on his arm. His muscles are like steel beneath her touch, but he does not pull away. They were fools, he corrects her, his voice thick with a lingering rage on her behalf. He covers her hand with his own, his large palm engulfing hers. Your song wasn't broken, Alara. It was just tuned to a different frequency. It was never meant for them to hear. It was only ever meant for me. In that moment, the last of her fear of him melts away, replaced by a fierce, protective love that mirrors his own. He is not just her mate, her king. He is Kaelin, the other half of her soul, who was just as lost and lonely as she was. Her new status is made formal a month later. It is not a boisterous feast, but a quiet, sacred ceremony held at the mountain's peak under the full moon. The elders of Kalin's own pack, ancient wolves with eyes that see more than the physical world, anoint her with sacred oils and declare her Regina Anime, the queen of the soul, his Luna, his equal. She wears a gown of midnight blue silk that shimmers like the night sky. She is no longer a wraith in gray wool. She is a queen standing beside her king, not behind him. She has found her place. Several months after the ceremony, duty requires Kaelin to return to the territories to the south. One of them is the Blackwood Pack. He asks if she will accompany him. He tells her she does not have to, that he will raze the entire pack to the ground for what they did to her if she asks it. She thinks about it for a long time. The thought of facing them all again, of seeing Ronan, sends a tremor of the old fear through her. But she is not the same woman who fled in the night. I will go, she says, her voice steady. I will not let them be a shadow I have to run from. When they arrive, the reception is starkly different. The entire pack is assembled, not in the hall, but outside the village gates, their heads bowed in submission and terror. Alpha Marcus looks as if he has aged 20 years. Alara stands beside Colin, her hand resting in the crook of his arm. She does not hide. She does not flinch. She meets their terrified gazes with a calm, quiet dignity. And then she sees him. Ronan. He stands with his mate, Lyra, at the edge of the crowd. He looks terrible. He has lost weight, and his eyes are hollow, filled with a haunted, desperate regret. Lyra is no longer sparkling with malicious glee. She looks frightened, staring at Alara as if she were a vengeful goddess returned from the dead. As Cullen speaks with Alpha Marcus in low, menacing tones, Ronan breaks from the crowd and takes a hesitant step forward. He means to approach her, perhaps to apologize, to beg, to try and explain away his cruelty out of sheer pathetic fear for his own life. Colin senses the movement without even looking. A low, possessive growl rumbles in his chest, a sound like an earthquake starting deep within the mountain. It freezes Ronan in his tracks, his face ashen, but it is Alara who delivers the final blow. She turns her head and looks directly at Ronan. She does not say a word. She does not have to. She simply gives him a look. It is not filled with hatred or anger or even triumph. It is filled with pity. In that single, quiet glance, she tells him everything. That he is small, that he is insignificant, that his cruelty, which defined her world for so long, is now nothing more than a footnote in a story that has become infinitely larger than him. She has not just moved on. She has ascended to a place he cannot even comprehend. He visibly flinches as if struck. He stumbles back, his face crumbling. He has been dismissed, erased. The finality of it is more devastating than any punishment Colin could have devised. Alara turns her attention away from him, back to her mate, and does not give him another thought. He is in the past. He is nothing. That night, she stands with Colin on the highest balcony of his mountain fortress, looking out at the world spread below them. The stars are so close here, bright and sharp in the cold. Clean air. A blanket of white snow covers the peaks, glowing under the light of the moon. It is peaceful. It is home. Kaylin comes to stand behind her, wrapping his strong arms around her waist and pulling her back against his chest. He rests his chin on her shoulder, his warmth a solid, comforting presence at her back. They stand in silence for a long time, two halves of a whole, watching the quiet majesty of their kingdom. She thinks back to the cold, packed earth floor of her hut, to the thin, useless blanket, to the profound loneliness that had been her only companion. She remembers the girl who believed she was broken, worthless, because her voice was not like everyone else's. How strange, she thinks, that her greatest perceived weakness, the very thing she was rejected for, was the one thing that could call a king across a continent. It was the one thing that could heal a soul as lonely as her own. Her flaw was not a flaw at all. It was a key waiting for the right lock. Kaylin nuzzles her neck, his breath warm against her skin. "What are you thinking about?" he murmurs, his voice soft, meant only for her. She leans back into his embrace. A real smile touches her lips, a smile of pure, unadulterated peace. "Nothing," she whispers, turning her head to press a soft kiss to his jaw. "And everything." He holds her tighter, his heart beating a steady, strong rhythm against her back. Together, they watch the moon climb higher in the sky, two souls no longer wandering, but finally home.